Hi, my name is Bob Rost, and I'm a consultant at State Support Team Region 3. And I will be narrating this PowerPoint explaining the required actions for any school district that has received a finding through the Ohio State Special Ed Profile Report for Indicator 1 and or Indicator 2. Indicator 1 being graduating by the standard requirements, which we'll explain in a few minutes, and Indicator 2, which is exceeding the targets that have been set for students with disabilities exiting or dropping out of special education. So welcome to this narrated PowerPoint. So quickly, just our social media presence. Feel free to follow us on these different platforms. So you can follow along with this PowerPoint. We've created a SPP resource website, which is very robust. I will just quickly here show you that. This is a website that's been developed, and this recording, as well as other materials, facts, FAQ sheets, a lot of resources that you can use as you navigate through this process. You can see that each of the indicators that have currently been released that require actions are listed across the top. So, for instance, Indicator 1 is right here, and you can see that it gives you an explanation of what the indicator is all about, fact sheet, the PowerPoint, as well as this narrated PowerPoint will be included there as well. Okay, so we always start out with the Ohio's strategic plan, Each Child, Our Future, which really does relate very closely to what Indicator 1 and 2 are all about. Our one goal is to ensure that our graduates, all graduates, but for our purposes, students with disabilities, are graduating ready for whatever that next step might be in their life. So yes, it's very important to receive an Ohio diploma, but we're really looking at making sure that we are setting up our students for the good life or the enviable life after they graduate from high school, however that may look. So that's our one goal with our priority strategies. You can see priority 10 there, that's with the arrow, looking at different pathways to graduation. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes as well. There are some resources that have been provided for you embedded in this PowerPoint, as well as on the website that you are able to access that will be good resources for you as you go through this process. So Each Child means Each Child is one of those resources that has been provided by the Department of Education and Workforce. Also, the Ohio Whole Child Framework is another resource that you can access that has some very good materials in there that can help you as you go through, looking at your indicators and coming up with improvement plans, which we will again talk about in a couple minutes. Again, our website linked here. Use it. It's a great resource. So hopefully you'll take advantage of that. So with our special ed profiles, there are essential questions that the different indicators are tied to. So the essential question related to Indicator 1 and 2, as you can see from this slide, are youth with disabilities prepared for life, work, and post-secondary education? So the indicators that we use to measure how well we're doing with answering that question would be Indicator 1, graduation, 2, dropout, 13, secondary transition planning, and then Indicator 14, post-secondary outcomes. So Ohio is in the process of a 5-year plan called the State Systemic Improvement Plan, or SSIP. And the rationale for that, why this is a priority for Ohio, you'll see in a minute. But the federal government, the Office of Special Ed Programming, has set targets for the state of Ohio for each year for Indicator 1 and Indicator 2. So you can see on this slide, Indicator 1, there are different targets that are set. So for this, it's the percentage of youth or students with IEPs ages 14 to 21 who exit special education with a regular high school diploma, or in another way is to say graduate by the typical or standard pathways. So with this 5-year plan, you can see that by the 25-26 SPP release, which will be based on the 2024-2025 data, we are setting a goal for ourselves of having 70% of our students with IEPs graduate by the standard requirements. Ohio is a single diploma state, which means that we don't have certificates of attendance or things like that maybe other states have. So even students that don't graduate by the standard requirements or the typical pathway, excuse me, will or can receive a diploma that does look exactly like every other diploma. There's two graduation rates. One's the state graduation rate, and the other one is the federal graduation rate. These SSIP targets are based on federal graduation rates. So you can see each year the targets are going up. Now, with the SPP profiles that were released in December of 23, it says at the top that this is based on 22-23 data. For indicators 1 and 2, that is based on data from the class of 21-22, okay? So you can see that the target for the class of 21-22 for indicator 1 was 64% of students with disabilities or with IEPs graduating with a regular high school diploma or graduating by the standard requirements. So why is Ohio focusing on graduation and dropout through our state systemic improvement plan? This slide that you're looking at now, this is from the 2021 data. You can see that red line over to the right. This is where Ohio is in comparison to other states and territories. And so you can see that we are at the bottom at 67% of our students with disabilities graduating with a regular high school diploma. And so that's why our focus is on graduation and dropout. And we'll take a look in a minute at how we compare to other states and territories for our dropout rate. But you can see that we have some work to do. So that's why this is a priority. We are getting better, okay? As you can see from this slide, that we are trending in the right direction here with students with disabilities graduating by the standard requirements, receiving a regular high school diploma. So that's good news, but we still have work to do. For indicator 2, dropout, where we are at with that is that, again, you can see that there are targets that are set each year, and these targets have been adopted by the Department of Education and Workforce and approved by the federal government with our goal by the 25-26 release of our indicators of having no more than 13% of our students with disabilities exiting special education due to dropping out. So if you have received a finding for indicator 1 or 2, you know why now, because for indicator 2, you've either exceeded this threshold. You have more students with disabilities, more than 15.5% of your students with disabilities dropping out. And for graduation, just quickly going back, you have not met the target you have fewer than 64% of your students. And again, this is from the 21-22 data year. So you did not meet that target for that year of 64% or more of your students with disabilities graduating by the standard requirements or by a typical pathway. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So dropout, again, this is how Ohio is looking compared to other states and territories. You can see that we are doing a little bit better with our dropout compared to our graduation. We're kind of in towards the middle, but the bottom middle. Again, this is 2021 data, where 16% of our students with disabilities ages 14 to 21 were exiting special education due to dropping out. Again, we are doing better, trending in the right direction. You can see from this slide, based from the, on the 2016, 2017 data to the 2021 data, we are moving in the right direction, but we still have some work to do. Thus, the State Systemic Improvement Plan focus on these two indicators. Okay, so talking about graduating by the standard requirements, with Ohio's new permanent graduation requirements, there's basically three things that students have to do to graduate by the typical or standard requirements. First is receive the credits. Ohio Department of Education and Workforce has a minimum of 20 credits. Most school districts exceed the 20, but that's the first thing, get the credits. The second is demonstrating competency. And you can see from this slide, there are different ways that students can demonstrate competency, which is really exciting that, it's not just about getting the basic score on the Algebra 1 and ELA 2. There are other ways that students can demonstrate competency, either through career readiness, earning credit through College Credit Plus, military enlistment, or receiving a remediation-free score on the ACT or the SAT. The third thing, and it's not shown on this screen, is to earn 2 of the readiness seals, one of which, and there's 12 of them, 9 of the 12 are state-defined and 3 are locally defined. One of those seals has to be state-defined, and the other can be locally defined, or there can be 2 that are state-defined seals. We do a lot of our work with school districts, we meaning State Support Team 3, with looking at option 2, that career readiness option, for those students that may not get the requisite score on the Algebra 1 and ELA 2 state test, looking at things like helping students earn industry-recognized credentials. So if you're watching this, you obviously have a finding in one of those 2, or maybe both of those indicators, 1 and 2. And just a shameless plug that we're here to help you with looking at different ways to help your students with disabilities demonstrate competency through some of these other options that you see here. And in particular, option 2, that career readiness, parallel or alternate demonstration of competency. So again, you can see here that little bubble there. Those are the different ways. So how do students not graduate by the standard requirements or the typical pathway? Course completion, a very, very, very small percentage of students may graduate by meeting their IEP goals, not completing required courses, or dropping out. Another way is not demonstrating competency through the various options, and not earning the 2 readiness seals. Another way of looking at this, and IEP teams have to make these decisions, but if any of these 3 areas are checked as yes by the IEP team, and this comes out of the new Ohio graduation decision-making tool, which is linked in our resources at the end. But if a student uses IEP goals to meet curricular requirements, if the student is taking the alternate assessment, or if the student's exempted from obtaining the end of course exam scores or the alternate assessment, if any of those three are checked yes, then it is not possible for a student to graduate by the standard requirements or typical pathway. And again, that's a lot of the work that we do, is helping to look at ways to mitigate having yeses in these boxes, and looking at maybe some other alternatives to demonstrating competency. Okay, so lots of resources here. This slide, you can see if you wanted to go to the Department of Education and Workforce website and learn more about the graduation requirements and resources. There's a lot of very good materials that are located there. Okay, so some important dates that we'll revisit this towards the end again in a spreadsheet that we put together. But these are some important dates that districts want to look at as far as their completion if they have required actions. And we'll explain these a little bit further as we go through the process here. So if you have a finding for indicator 1 or 2, you are required to complete what's called the self-review summary report, or the SRSR. Okay, so with the SRSR, there are basically 3 sections. Now, if you're a district that has both an indicator 1 and an indicator 2 finding, you do not have to do the SRSR for each of those. The SRSR and all of the other materials, the improvement plans and the deadlines and the dates are all the same, whether you have an indicator 1 or 2. So if you happen to have a finding for both indicator 1 and 2, you do not have to submit to our SRSRs and the other materials. So on the SRSR, the 3 sections, Section A is completed if your district has a verified data reporting error. So where information was incorrectly submitted in EMIS that caused you to either not meet the graduation threshold or exceed the dropout threshold. If that's the case, if you simply have, well, not simply, but if you only have a verified data reporting error, you will just do Section A, and you are not required to have the state support team consultant as part of your team and signing off on your SRSR and your improvement plan. If you do have if you have exceeded the threshold for the dropout, or you've not met the threshold for graduation by the standard requirements, you will complete Section B of the SRSR, and you are required then to have state support team consultants, either myself or probably Angie Chappell, as part of your team and signing off on your SRSR and providing support to you with your improvement plan activities. If you had a finding in previous years, so say for instance, last year you had an indicator 1 finding where you did not meet the threshold for graduating, students with disabilities graduating by standard requirements, and you once again have it this year, you also have a finding again this year, you are also required to complete Section C of the self-review summary report. And this could be where maybe you're improving, you have moved in the right direction, but you still haven't met that threshold. So on the Section C, it's basically reflection on either what's working or what's not working from the improvement plan that you put into place last year. So these are some directions for completing the self-review summary report. Basically, you're getting all of your information and your data together. You will, by going through the questions and prompts that are found on the SRSR, you will answer those questions and determine if it is an area of concern. Now, not all areas that are on the SRSR, your team will not, may not consider that to be an area of concern, but at least one or two areas would probably stick out to you that this is an area of concern. And for those areas of concern, you will determine a root cause that will then help drive your improvement plan. The area of concern, the SRSR is supposed to be a team sport, meaning that it's something that all the stakeholders that would have a say or would have some influence in the indicator findings should be a part of your SRS team. It's not best practice to have a single person do it. It should be a team sport. Okay, so let's say that you believe that the indicator finding was due to a data reporting error. There is, and you will find this on the profile webpage, you will find the form that you're seeing here with the directions of how you will go ahead and submit to the Department of Education and Workforce why you believe that it was a data reporting error, and you will upload supporting evidence that will go along with that. So we're going to talk about the deadlines in a minute on our flowchart, but if you believe that you have a data reporting error, this form needs to be uploaded to the monitoring site on the department's website by February 9th. Okay, so if for indicators 1 and 2, you believe that you have a verified data error, or you submit by the 9th of February your form that we saw in the previous slide, this form, you submitted that by the 9th of February, and the Department of Education and Workforce does verify that you do have a data error, you will go ahead and, again, you will complete Section A of the SRSR. It is important to remember, and this is probably especially important for those districts that may have both a verified data error and you have not met or you've exceeded the threshold for indicator 1 and 2, that this will reflect negatively through indicator 20, that you will, the EMIS will be, you'll receive a lower score for timely and accurate data, indicator 20. So if you know that you have not met a threshold, let's say that you have both, you know you have verified data error, but you also know that beyond that, you have either not met a threshold or you've exceeded the threshold, you may want to consider whether you want to actually go ahead and submit that form for a data error. And again, we're here to help you navigate that and talk that through, but it's important to remember that there is an additional consequence to your district through indicator 20 if you indeed have a verified data error. If you have, for indicator 1 graduation, you've not met the threshold, or for indicator 2, you exceeded the threshold, you will then be required to do Section B of the SRSR. And again, if you're doing Section B, you are required to have a member of the SST to be a member of your team with completing the SRSR and the improvement plan. And this is just a screenshot of some of the questions. You can see here, this is topic 1, early warning systems, topic 2, intervention. As a team, you would go through answer the questions that you see here. You will answer those questions, and you will then determine, after you've gone through all of Section B, which of these sections or questions in Section B are areas of concern. Again, if they're areas of concern, you will then determine a cause, a root cause, which will then drive your improvement plan. Again, as mentioned previously, if you had a finding for indicator 1 and or 2 last year, and you have a finding again this year, you will also be required to do Section C, which is a reflection. Let's say that you did have an indicator 1 finding last year, and you have one again this year, but you're moving in the right direction. You're getting closer to reaching that SSIP target that was established. Your reflection could be on, this is what's working. If, let's say, you're not going in the right direction, that you're moving further away from reaching that target that was set, then you are going to go through this section and talk about what's not working and what will you do differently as you design your improvement plan of how you're going to move forward in that, whatever the indicator is. So this is just kind of a simple overview of the SRSR process. You go through as a team, hopefully review and discuss the questions that are on the SRSR, using your data, determine if it's an area of concern. For those areas on the SRSR, if you do determine it's an area of concern, you will rank it as such and prioritize, what's the most concerning area, what's the second most concerning area. But if you do identify it as an area of concern, you're going to want to make sure that that area of concern is targeted through the improvement plan process. Okay, so root cause analysis is, once you have determined the area of concern, you want to engage your team in determining, why is this happening? And as you can see on these bulleted points here, you want to focus on correcting and remedying the root cause rather than just the symptoms. Don't ignore the importance of treating symptoms for short-term relief. Realize there can be, and often are, multiple root causes. Focus on how and why something happened, not the who was responsible. It's important to be methodical and find very concrete cause and effect evidence, things you have some control over. Provide enough information to provide a corrective course of action. And then, of course, consider how that root cause can be prevented or replicated if you're moving in the right direction in the future. And the quote at the bottom kind of says it all, right? A broken wrist hurts a lot. The painkillers will take away the pain. They'll not cure the wrist. So your root cause analysis should be there to help you cure the wrist. There are different ways that teams can go through the root cause analysis. And again, your SST3 consultants can assist your team with completion of root cause analysis. One of the most popular ones is the 5 whys, where you define your problem and then you answer questions of why is this happening, and until you get to the reason, okay? You can see at the bottom, the reminder, you don't want to list 5 different reasons. You want to go deep and look for that one reason. And again, that reason will be the focus of the improvement plan, something you have control over. That can't be a person. It has to be something that you can change. The tree of influence. So graduation and dropout. Graduation specifically, indicator 1, it's really, really important to remember that graduation does not start in high school, that there are many, many factors that go into whether a student will graduate by standard requirements or whether a student will drop out. Many of the indicators that are part of our SPP profiles, for instance, parent involvement, indicator 8. That's a key factor in preventing dropping out and promoting graduation by standard requirements. Indicator 4, the suspension and expulsion. Obviously, there's a lot of data to support that if a school district is exceeding the targets for their suspension and expulsion rate, clearly that is also going to have an effect on graduation and dropout. So tree of influence is a nice graphic to really help reinforce that none of these indicators live in isolation, that everything is interconnected. And with graduation being the culminating activity or outcome for students, all of these different indicators here really do have an impact and influence the graduation rate. So you have done your SRSR, you have identified your areas of concern, you have done your root cause analysis, you have identified the root cause. The next step is the completion of the improvement plan. As I said before, all of these forms are found on the SPP site. This is the form that your team will use to complete the improvement plan once you've determined your root cause. And you will notice that you will summarize, based on your self-review summary, your area of concern, your reflection, what's your long-term goal, what's the short-term goal, and reaching your short-term goal comes down to different very specific activities that you will use to address the area of concern or areas of concern that you've identified through the SRSR process. We'll look at some of these other dates in a minute. But again, if you have not met the threshold for graduation, or if you've exceeded it for dropout, state support team, consultant participation as part of your team is required with our signature on both your SRSRs and the improvement plans that get submitted to the Department of Education and Workforce. Once you have completed your activities that you have outlined in your improvement plan, you will use the improvement plan evidence index. This is an example that you see here of proof of how you have completed the activities that you have listed on your improvement plan. So you will simply go over and put in what was the improvement plan activity and what is the evidence that you will provide, for instance, PowerPoint meeting agendas or meeting sign-in sheets or evidence of professional development. Those things will all need to be uploaded as evidence that you have completed what you said you would complete on your improvement plan. This flow chart is something that we created just to maybe kind of help summarize the overall process for indicators 1 and 2. As we had mentioned, if you believe you have a data appeal, that it was inaccurate data that led to the finding, you will complete that data reporting error and data appeal verification form and submit it by the 9th of February. After that time, you will be notified by the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce whether your data appeal has been verified. So you can see on the left-hand side that if you have a verified data appeal, what you will do is you will complete the SRSR Part A and your improvement plan and have that uploaded and submitted by the 29th of March. Again, if you have just a data appeal, a verified data appeal, you do not have to have SST3 support and involvement in your SRSR and your improvement plan work. So after that, you have uploaded your SRSR and your improvement plan by the 20th of September. Then you will then submit the improvement plan evidence index that we looked at, showing that you are engaged in systemic improvement. On the right-hand side, if you did not meet the graduation threshold, or you've exceeded the dropout threshold, you will complete the SRSR Part B. Part C, if you had a finding in prior years, in last year, and you will do the improvement plan, and that will be submitted and uploaded by the 29th of March. Again, if you have not met the graduation threshold or you exceeded the dropout threshold, you will be required to have SST participation as part of your process. Then once again, you will have to upload your improvement plan evidence index by the 20th of September with evidence of the completion of the activities that were outlined on your improvement plan. As you can see from the bottom, let's say you have both. You have a verified data appeal and you've not met graduation threshold or you exceeded the dropout threshold. You will have to do both of these things, which you see on the right and on the left, and that will be due by the 20th of September. We have, again, supplied you with a lot of resources here. Our target videos, more information about industry recognized credentials and our industry recognized credentials fair, information about students with IEPs, and graduation. This is a lot of the work that we do here at SST3 is work with our districts on finding those customizable pathways for our students with disabilities to be able to meet the graduation requirements by typical or standard requirements. Questions? Again, my name's Bob Ross. You can see right here my contact information, my partner here at SST3, Angie Chappell. The two of us live in Indicator 1 and 2 world, and we are here to support you in any way that we can. So we thank you for your time and look forward to working with you, and want to make sure that you know that we are here for you to support you through this work. Thank you.